Welcome back to the Hello Velocity podcast, where we help corporate women level up without burning out. I'm your host, Brittany Kanaski, a leadership coach and trainer here at Hello Velocity. And today we're joined by Morgan Hamer. Morgan is a manifesting mentor and founder of Morgan Manifests, where she helps ambitious women stay magnetic no matter what life throws at them. After walking away from a high-pressure career, Morgan manifested $1 million real estate portfolio and multiple income streams by aligning with intuition and purpose. Today, her work blends mindset, energetics, and spiritual strategy to help women create lasting success, inner peace, and real financial freedom, even in the messy middle. Welcome, Morgan. I'm so excited to have you today.
Me too. I feel like this has been something that has been downloading for years, We're finally here.
Yeah, it really has. We've talked about this definitely for several years of at some point we're going to collaborate, at some point we're going to do a podcast together, and it's finally happening. I'm so excited.
Yes.
And I love to actually start with that too, of just sharing briefly how we met. So was it 2020 that we met
Yes,
officially?
November of 2020.
Ooh, I love it. You know the exact month. When your whole life changed. No?
Yes.
Yeah, so we were in a networking group where we were randomly assigned in a group together, a mastermind group together as fellow business owners to learn from each other. And yeah, we just really hit it off, and we've been kind of, informal accountability buddies since then, / became really close friends. And fun fact is that Morgan actually did my makeup for my wedding.
I'm not a professional. But
Yeah,
yes,
just
yeah, that's a great thing to make note of. I know, and we're about to be on 5 years. I mean,
yeah.
this has been such a beautiful example of the power of the women that you surround yourself with. I mean, like, you and I have been closely checking in for almost 5 years, and we've gotten to be each other's cheerleaders and hold each other accountable and really like exchange information as we've been growing and learning. And it's been so powerful and invaluable. But I also, it was also helpful for me to see that an adult can make a friend who starts out as a professional acquaintance. Um, because I know a lot of times it's easy to say like, oh, it's hard to make friends when you're older and that kind of thing. And then I had a little bit of like some limitations about feeling comfortable being fully myself at the time that we met, especially in professional settings. I felt like I had to like compartmentalize my weirdness and my silliness, and so when I've met you and you showed up authentically, because I mean you have the weirdness and the silliness too, it was like, oh my gosh, I feel like this girl is like a soul sister. So I don't know if you even realized that impact that you had as well is just like you were like one of the first friends I've ever had that came from a professional setting instead of a fun setting.
Yeah, I didn't realize that, but that's a cool takeaway too. And I know so many people struggle with making friends as an adult, and I still do too. And I think it is really cool how we found each other that way. But then also we can still be those professional buddies in the same sense too. Like I said, the accountability side, and we've both been growing businesses the last 5 years. So it's been so helpful to keep in touch from that perspective, to learn from each other about like the back end, the struggles, the money, the stressors, all the ups and downs, and have someone that you can be like so real with, where a lot of times I don't think many people always have that place to talk about it. But then again, on the other side, on the friend side, we can, be our silly, weird, goofy selves together and just wholeheartedly appreciate and love each other and have fun together too. And I'm like, yeah, so value our friendship and relationship. Yay. Well, I know I could gush on you for an hour, but we also have other things to talk about. So, as we're transitioning here too, I would love to hear more in your own words to your like career journey and what got you to where you are today.
Okay, I will try to be as brief as possible. But my career journey started in college when I decided to be an art major. Uh, and I then discovered commercial real estate, and there's a direct path, even though it probably doesn't make sense. But anyway, I went from art major to being interested in commercial real estate, and specifically, I was interested in seeing the artist's impact on development in the cities, because where artists go, development follows. So that's part of why I have a bunch of tattoos and don't really look the part of a commercial real estate agent. Um, but I think I want to include that detail because my story is very much about like following the next right thing, like intuitively doing what my gut, my heart says is right. So I land in commercial real estate, and um I was trying to get a job to I had a master's degree, I had a real estate license, and in the beginning of 2018, I hit a rock bottom because I could not get a job to save my life because everywhere wanted experience. So that was when I finally threw a Hail Mary and said, "Okay, I'm going to start getting into this personal development stuff." And my dad actually gave me the book Think and Grow Rich, like, a few days after one of my friends said I should read that book, and I was like, "Okay, this isn't a coincidence." So, I jumped in, read that book, and then it just led me down this slippery slope of, like, learning all about personal development, spirituality, manifesting, and that kind of thing. So, I have a very science, like, data collector mind, so as I was reading and listening to podcasts and learning about these new tools and this information, I started to apply these tools, these learnings in my own life. And within a few months of like really going all in on this, I was able to manifest my first job. It was like my dream job in a corporate real estate setting. And then I quickly realized that my dream job was not my dream job, and manifested an out of with before even a year was up, and it was like a national news that this place was like closing. So I wasn't going to look bad on my resume if I left after 4 months. And I got a job helping someone grow their commercial real estate firm, and I thought that was my dream job. And then 3 years into it, I helped grow the firm from 0 to 30 agents, and um it was at the expense of my well-being. And I know you were along for the ride for this little era, but through that time, um I was starting to really go all in on the manifesting stuff as well. And um, I'm really big on practicing what I preach. So I knew at some point, like I had to get out of here. It was stagnant. It was against my integrity. I was not honoring my values, and I applied one of my favorite techniques, which is seeking out magnetic mirrors. Those are the people that we intentionally surround ourselves with so that we can demonstrate to our subconscious mind that whatever they're doing is possible for us. So I reached out to my magnetic mirror, Steve, who is a badass M&A attorney turned artist when he retired. And I'm like, I want to be this guy when I grow up. And then I just said, "Hey, Steve, like I'm leaving this business. I'm just going to go out on my own as a real estate agent. Like I just can't do it anymore. I can't keep settling." And from that conversation came an opportunity to collaborate with him to open my own commercial real estate firm. So, um it was just this beautiful, journey of following the next right thing, practicing what I preach, and also taking the big scary leaps of faith when the opportunity presented. And so we start New Lead from commercial real estate and business brokerage together, and my team grows quickly, and I start making a ton of money, and I'm like, wow, the universe is so proud of me for following my heart. And then, life got real. So I started getting unexpected expenses in my first year of self-employment. I think I had like over 60 grand worth of unexpected expenses. And then that then the next phase of the like shit show that was my first couple years of self-employment came a lot of people passing away in my life. And so, also during this time, I was trying to start Morgan Manifests and taking on clients to go through the manifesting programs that I had. created that included all the stuff that I have applied in my own life to get uh, where I have arrived. So, um, it was just a lot of stuff all happening at one time, and I really had to hone in on the spiritual aspect of manifesting during this time and really learn to surrender and trust my intuition and trust that the universe is going to have my back, even though I'm draining money and I'm grieving and I just don't even know which way is up most days for a good year of my life. And from that really came the knowledge, the information, the powerful tools that I've created to help other people be able to survive and thrive no matter what life brings. So there's my career story and also my manifesting journey all in one.
Yeah, I love the all-in-one combo, and, yeah, I think before we go any further too, I think it's important to define manifesting for people who aren't that familiar with it because I know you mentioned a few times already, it is the core of what you do, but I'd love to hear in your own words what manifesting means.
Manifesting is it's the act of materializing externally from the inside. So shaping your reality from the inside out. And what does that mean? It means that what you experience outside of yourself, so the people you interact with, the situations you encounter, the money you have in your bank account, even the weight, the number you see on your scale, all of this to some degree is a result of what's happening inside of you and the specifically what's happening inside of you. Um, that means your subconscious beliefs, the energy, the energetic imprints that were left on you throughout your life, the stored emotions, the memories in your mind, in your body. These factors come together to shape your energetic frequency, your vibe, what your point of attraction, what it is that you are going to materialize externally in your life. And things do not happen to you, they happen for you. So, um, the things you experience, like, I know a lot of times it's like, "Oh, I just had this terrible thing happen. I must not be, a good person or manifesting right or doing all the things right." But even if you were to be, in quotation marks, "doing all the things right," like, doing the manifesting work, the reprogramming, so on and so forth, life is still gonna happen. But that those things that are happening externally are actually happening for you as an opportunity to grow and heal and transform inside so that you are able to then attract whatever it is you desire externally as well. Does that make sense?
It definitely does,
Okay.
and what's coming to mind to me is that I know manifesting has a bad rep sometimes of it's just I don't know, sometimes people have said that it's, just think and you just think about what you want and it'll appear, right? Or something like that, or people say it's woo and it's not real and all these things. But the way you're describing it and me having participated in a few of your programs too, how I see it, it's almost like a deeper level of coaching that I do with people. Is like I'm helping people understand similar to you of they're more in control of their lives and their work than they think, right? They can be more intentional with their goals and how they go after it and what they need to be doing and how to stay accountable and all that. But I see what you're doing is even like a deeper level than that, that you have to go deeper with people of it's harder work, honestly. It's like you have to do some healing first. You have to really understand the root of what's getting in your way, what's causing those subconscious beliefs to get in your way of, oh, maybe not feeling worthy of having this thing that you want or whatever it is. So you need to go usually more in the deeper, maybe looking into childhood or other, things that have happened in your past to maybe heal some things. Then you need to do a lot of action and intentional thoughts, of course, too, but it seems like a lot of really action-oriented things, and I think a lot of people, again, think of it as, "Oh, you just think about it and it'll appear, and that's manifesting. Like, no, it's a lot of work. It's deeper than what I do with people, and some people think what I do is very deep. So I don't know. That's just what's coming to mind is it's actually a lot of work.
Yes, and I am really passionate about the action piece because my philosophy is in order to have a transformation. So when it comes to manifesting, oftentimes the transformation that we're wanting is something external, something material. So maybe you want a higher paying job, or you just want to manifest more money, or you want a house, or you want a relationship, something. There's something that you want. Um that's going to require an inner transformation in order to align with. Because if you could just go to the store and buy it, if you could just hop on an app and make the connection, then you would just do it. So people are drawn to manifesting because they realize like my standard approach to getting what I want isn't working, and I really want this thing and I'm willing to do what it takes to get it. So I will do some of the digging and the hard stuff in order to get this thing that I really want. And I believe that in order to get that inner transformation that you are going to have to experience in order to align with and attract whatever it is that you want, there's three pieces that have to come together. First, there's the information. So that's just you're learning new concepts, new techniques, reading, watching videos, whatever. You're consuming information. That's part one. Part two is application. And this is where a lot of people just kind of this is as far as people get. And the application piece is you are doing your journal prompts to start to apply whatever information you've learned, or maybe you're doing guided meditation. Some of the 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 inner reprogramming work that you can kind of do in your own time, and just to kind of reinforce whatever it is that you've been learning. And that does have some impact. I'm not going to discredit it. Sometimes just journaling, there can be huge breakthroughs or unblocking happening, but most of the time, you also have to have the third piece, which is it's information, application, and dedication. And the dedication piece, to me, is where you start to really embody the learnings that you've been applying in the real world. So, and that's where the real transformation happens, because you can know something in your head, and you can check the boxes and do the little tools, like I said, the like self-paced, in your own time tools. But you'll know when that you're able to really embody and reach a new level of your new patterns, your new behaviors that are going to match this next level where that desire that you have, you're calling in, exists, when you actually stick to the learnings, stick to the tools, and apply them in the moments when it counts. So this looks like taking an alternative approach to what you've been doing all along that hasn't been working. And oftentimes this would be taking a new response. If you're triggered by something, it's a good example. Or if you have some kind of visibility wound, like going and actually putting yourself out there and speaking up for once is another great example, or posting on social media. There's all of these tools that you're going to learn about, but if you're not actually applying them where it counts, then you're not experiencing that full transformation that is basically communicating to the universe, and energetically communicating that you are ready for this next level where your desire exists.
Yeah, I think that's where most people get hung up in so many aspects of life is that, there's so much information out there, even for free, thinking like YouTube videos. You could basically learn about anything you want for free. But if it were that simple, everyone would be doing it, like you said, or everyone would be a millionaire if it were that easy to start a business and do it. But it's really the applying and dedication, like you're saying, that consistency behind it of actually implementing what you're learning and not just learning and learning and learning and learning and not applying it to anything or not doing it consistently. I think I see a lot of people getting hung up in that area too.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, it's really hard sometimes in the moment to, like, remember, because we have these default settings.
Mhm.
Our subconscious mind runs 95% of our lives, like the way that we think, the habits that we have, what we do with our life and our time. 95% of that is driven by our subconscious, which was mostly programmed and shaped from 0 when we're in the womb to age 8. So basically, we are adults that are being driven by our wounded inner child to some degree, as well as all the rest of whatever has shaped us. I'm not gonna say, like, it's just that part of us that's running the show, but I think there are some people that that probably applies for, and, I think, like, that's also where people get hung up is because either they have a hard time reflecting on their past, like, they don't wanna admit that they might have had some tough experiences or they feel guilty, like, saying, like, "My mom and my dad did this and that." It's like, "Oh, no, my parents were saints. I'm having a great childhood." Like, there is definitely a demographic of people who just can't even go past that, And then, um, but on the other side of that is once you start to look at some of the things that have shaped you that are playing out in your adult life. For example, something that I've noticed recently is um I I perpetuate chaos sometimes. Like I like not recently, now that I've had this awareness, I've been working on doing it, but in my childhood I had a very chaotic environment. My parents were super young when they had me and I got passed around to both sets of my grandparents. And so in my adult life, this is playing out as like I have a hard time, like, settling down in relationships and, because 'cause I'm used to, like, having, like, basically 3 sets of primary caregivers, and then, like, I like to live places seasonally, like, I do not wanna live in one place year round. Because I was used to getting to go to different homes and stuff when I grew up, but also, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but where it is negatively impacting me the most is that, like, I feel like I manifest a lot of, like, drama and chaos in my life, in my work environments that I've been attracted to in the past, or, um, just doing too much, signing up for too much, and being in this, like, constant state of overwhelm, and I imagine some of your listeners can probably relate to that as well, and maybe they weren't raised in a chaotic environment, but I think overwhelm and like doing, doing, doing is very common with ambitious women in business, and um, at the root of that is there is some kind of programming, some kind of modeling that you experience that made that the norm, and that's why you keep manifesting it in your adult life, and being willing to go look at that, create a new narrative, start to teach your nervous system how to be comfortable slowing down and demonstrating that you don't have to do it all in order to get what you want. Like that's where the big breakthroughs come. And it's just so beautiful to be able to like help women, be able to pinpoint these things and create a new reality like I've done here lately with this one.
Yeah, I love to hear that. It's really powerful, I think, when people are willing, first of all, to go there to understand what those patterns are that they might be automatically repeating over and over again and being willing to choose something different for themselves, right? In service of a better future, of whatever it is that they're yearning for, they wanna go after. But yeah, it just starts with being willing, I think.
Yes. Yes.
Alright, so related, I know this season is all about confidence here at the Hello Velocity podcast. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how confidence relates to the work that you're doing with women and manifesting.
Wow. So I think that you and I definitely have the same philosophy with regard to getting clear on your values and really integrating and owning them. I think that is one of the like easiest paths towards building your confidence is really getting clear on who you are on a soul level and then owning it and showing up fully and as authentically as possible. Because your values aren't a coincidence. Like you were born with these unique passions, interests, and whatnot. And yes, they can change over time, but I think our essence tends to kind of stay the same, throughout our lifetime. But anyway, I think that these things are connected to our purpose. And when we honor our values, we are getting energized. We are aligning with our higher selves and a higher power. And that's what really can like activate us and make us more magnetic and also more confident. I also think the second part I would like to add is the spirituality component. I know some people are off put by the word God. I like to say I'll interchange God, universe. There's an acronym GUS, God, universe, spirit, which I love. But anyway,
Yes.
um, the the spiritual aspect to confidence comes from going through and doing some of that manifesting work, doing the information application and dedication pieces, and starting to see that you have power and also you're divinely supported. When you are honoring your callings, when you're doing that healing, that reprogramming work to be reconnected to your true essence and when you're willing to peel back those layers, those defense mechanisms that you've built up, um, to survive this thing called life, when you start to peel those back, you start to become more of you. And part of that peeling back process is really learning to lean on a higher power, trust the universe, trust yourself. And once you start to see those results, I think that also builds your confidence because you start to realize like this isn't just me. Like I am supported and basically I've demonstrated that, anything I want, I've been able to get. Like I mean, and with that, you also know that, like, they're the creator of all things, this higher power, whatever you wanna call it, is there alongside you, co-creating, collaborating to help you get what you want. Like, what could possibly make you feel more confident than that? You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I love this perspective of, like, the 2 pillars, like, I'm usually talking about the core values, like you said, where it's more the internal confidence and finding it within yourself, but I totally see how much more powerful it is when you have both, right? Because a lot of people, again, are either kind of one or the other. Now that you're explaining it this way, I see a lot of people, like, on my end, focus on more of the core values, internally think they're all on their own, and you are missing out on so much when you think it's only you doing this and you're responsible for all of this confidence on your own. And then I see the other side too when you're only focused on the external, spiritual, religious, whatever side of that external belief in everything's bigger than you, right? And there's a higher being, higher spirit, or Gus. I love that Gus looking out for you and it'll work out. But each of those is needed, but limited on its own. But when you have both, it's like, I know who I am, I'm confident in myself, and I know everything's working out how it's meant to and for the best. And when you have both of that, it's like, you're unstoppable.
Exactly.
Yeah. I definitely I've seen that for myself now that we're talking about it too. When I started more of my spiritual journey over the last 5, 6 years as well, when I started believing in more of that, of, the universe has my back. There's all these sayings that I've practiced over the last few years to, like, help me believe it and help me feel more confident too of, like, yeah, there is a bigger plan. I'm never gonna understand it. I'm not the universe. I don't know all the million other things going on, and that's okay, but, yeah, saying things like, "Yeah, the universe has my back," or, something I say a lot recently is, "Everything's always working out for me." So even if something doesn't work out, it's like, everything's working out for me because, again, you don't know why this one thing didn't work out how you expected, and you may never know why, and that's okay, and it just allows you to kind of release that control and just be like, "Yeah, it's okay. Everything's gonna keep moving, right? The world's gonna keep
Yes.
spinning. Everything's fine."
Yeah.
Yes. So, what are some common issues that you see with women? I know you mentioned earlier the overwhelm bit, But what are maybe that we can go a little bit deeper into, but any other issues too that you see that you are working through most commonly with high achieving women?
Yeah, I mean, the overwhelm for sure, and I think at the root of it is people just trying to take that logical approach to getting what they want. So it's like, oh, if you want more money, you work harder. Like that's the logical approach, you know? Or once again, like people getting in their heads, like, I don't know the how. I don't know how to get what I want. So I'm gonna talk myself out of my daydream. Or um that analysis paralysis thing happens as well with ambitious women, and it's like, they get in their heads, they overthink things. Generally, this is rooted in some form of perfectionism, which comes from being told that, like, you have to do everything you have to be the best at everything in order to get love, more or less, you know? So, like, the perfectionism thing for sure. Professional women especially tend to struggle with, um once again, it all roots at being in their heads, getting in their heads, overthinking, trying to be in that logical kind of mindset. So, that also will play out as, like, I need to do everything myself because if I delegate, like, it's not gonna be done right. Because that's what the logical mind says. The logical mind says, like, I've never seen anyone do things as well as I can, so therefore, I have to be the one to do it all. And the thing is, at on the other side of all of these beliefs that we have that keep us in this overwhelm, that keep us in that perfectionism, the analysis paralysis, all of that is that on a subconscious level, we have not seen to believe that the other way is possible for us. That's one factor. So in order to undo whatever it is, these programmings, oftentimes you need to go and seek out other examples of people who have been able to work through that problem successfully. And also you need to be willing to let go and let God is my saying, but you have to be willing to not need to be in control. And the logical mind tells us, like, once again, like we need to control everything to make sure that we're safe, that we're provided for, that like we get our way more or less. But we are limited by our own past experiences. And to get what we want, there's probably 10,000 paths to get what we want, and generally, we are limited to thinking that this one way is the only way that we can do it, and so that requires us to have to get out of our heads and start to just be able to zoom out and get more into that, like, trust and receiving mode, which is really hard for ambitious women to do because we're so busy hustling and trying to perfect things and control everything that like we can't zoom out and see that the solution to whatever it is that we're trying to get, oftentimes it comes down to more money or love, um, was just right here, just right out of our, like, line of sight, but we have this tunnel vision, and we're up in our heads trying to figure it all out that we don't even realize the solution is actually, like, really simple and right in our reach. So, a lot of the healing and reprogramming work specifically for the ambitious women in business, is rooted in learning how to feel safe slowing down.
Yeah, I know we both have been working on that ourselves in our business as we talk about, we're checking in constantly about what we're working on personally and professionally. I know something that's coming to mind that we've talked about recently that's related is how I think both of us used to be really logical too. We used to be really in our heads and think, okay, if I do XYZ, then this will happen, right? And thinking our way through everything. And now over these last 5 years or so, we've been able to it sort of feels like unwind how tightly wound we were, right? And now settle down and we can I know we both talked about this, we can kinda hear our intuition more and we can hear those nudges more and get more inspiration and new ideas and creativity is finally coming back, it feels like. Why do you think so many ambitious women are so in their heads and coming from such logic, and like, why is this like, I see it in so many of my clients too. We're just so in that energy of in our heads and control, and I don't know. I know there's a million different answers, but I'm curious if you see any like anything really standing out for you of why that seems to be the case now.
Hey, you're bringing me to the woo, Brittany.
Yeah, let's go there.
Um,
Let's get whoa woo.
ego stands for edging God out. And our ego is the part of our subconscious that functions to keep us safe from harm. It functions to give us an identity. The ego is the I. So your ego wants you to feel different and unique from everyone else, which creates this separation from other people. And and that's there is a healthy amount of ego. Like if there was no I, then we're just like amorphous beings, floating around. But the ego also is it is the part of the subconscious that stores these narratives and the stories that have impacted us and taught us what is or is not safe. And it's also where the attributes, qualities in other people or ourselves, this is where we hold on to, like, is society gonna reject us? Is our mom gonna reject us more or less if we embody certain attributes? So the ego goes to great lengths to protect us from being a type of way that we were programmed to believe wasn't okay. So um for example, the ego oftentimes in like ambitious women, there is this part of our subconscious mind that tells us it like you have to perform, like your value is directly connected to your productivity or your income or your status, that kind of thing. And so when that's the narrative that's been imprinted in your mind, which comes from just being an American citizen to some degree, like the cultural norm. So if that wasn't like if that didn't just program you, you likely had some dominant primary caregiver that modeled to you that like you have to achieve all of this stuff in order to be worthy of love. And so then the ego stores this story and this persona that you carry with you subconsciously, and you literally have the same response as like dying when that persona is threatened. But this thing is, the term the inflated ego, like that is when our brain, our subconscious mind, like doesn't let us see the reality of things or look inward and see our own flaws, because the ego is so loud and protective that it's not going to let you be unsafe or vulnerable or exposed. So what happens when our ego is inflated, it's protecting us, it's going to great lengths to make sure that we are these powerhouse women doing all the things and making all the money and getting all the status, is it blocks us from God. Like the because we get stuck in this like tunnel vision, this logic, this mind um headspace, that there's no room for another way. There's no room for connection. There's no room to surrender and trust and have faith and believe, because like that's not safe. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah, and I think something that you touched on here too that I think would really resonate with people and is really coming to mind too is this societal aspect of this is what it feels like is expected in our society, especially in the corporate world, is that it is a very, go, go, go mentality. It's a very much about outcomes. It's about the grind, that's kind of the culture here in America right now with the corporate setting, and I think, something else I know you've talked about in the past too is this, like, masculine versus feminine energy, which is something I've just learned about in the last few years, and I know, again, we've talked about this a lot, and it's been really helpful for me to think about it, that back when I was in corporate, I was fully in my masculine energy, I think because that was the corporate way. That's how most corporate environments are built, is that it's very, like you said, the logic based, it's very ego based, it's very,
Structure.
yeah, it's all about structure, which I love structure and I'm good at that, so I, like, leaned all the way into that, but like you said too, it kind of, like, blocked everything else, like, I had 0 intuition, I was not in tune with who I am as an individual, what my needs are at a basic level. I remember even there were times I'd be sitting at my computer working, 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 and, like, wouldn't go eat lunch, or I wouldn't go to the bathroom when I needed to because I was just like, "I gotta keep going, I gotta keep going," and it was just this weird, almost subconscious belief that I just had to keep going, like, no one was telling me, "Don't eat lunch and keep working," but it was just this kind of modeled to me or, yeah, some conscious patterning that was happening, and then now being almost 5 years out of corporate, I think I'm still unlearning a lot of that, but I've come so much farther to find who I am, what my strengths are as an individual, my energy levels throughout the day, throughout the week, like all of these things that were never a thought before because there was no space for it before. And now I actually get to like listen to my body and I wake up without an alarm now and I sleep 8 to 9 hours a night every night and I'm like really in tune with my body and it's such a different way of being. And now I get all these like intuitive ideas and nudges and inspiration that are coming that I feel like I just didn't have space for before.
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that because that is definitely very common with the ambitious woman is getting lost in the masculine. And the thing is, it's all about balance, really. Like, and there's toxic masculinity and there's divine masculinity. There's toxic femininity and divine femininity. And we want to be in the balance of the positive versions of both. And so toxic masculinity looks like that ego, that inflated ego. It looks like a need for structure, this top down approach to everything, like war and domination and control and all that. And but positive masculinity looks like structure, leadership, planning, creating containers for the feminine to exist. And the positive feminine, the divine feminine looks like flow, intuition, creativity. Like it's not the I like the masculine, it's the we and the feminine. And where that can become toxic is when it's just all about everyone else and we're these like martyrs, um and and there's no container for which we can be those creative, soft, nurturing energies. And so then it's just kind of like everything goes to chaos. And
Yeah.
so when you pair that, like, the masculine structure, the, containers for that flow, that creativity, that, the ability to build community and connection and that kind of thing, then you've got those boundaries where the feminine can stay safe to keep channeling the softer aspects of life. And what happens, whether you're male or female, when you get too far into the masculine is you get disconnected from your soul, from your purpose, from others. You and connection is at the root of like a human's quality of life. Like the quality of your connections is one of the biggest determining factors of how long you live. And disease prevention and so on and so forth. So when you're all the way in that masculine zone, oftentimes you're in your head, you're overdoing, you're cut off from your intuition and divine guidance and all that stuff. And it leads to burnout, disconnection, and suffering and disease. I mean, it's like that bad and that serious. And I think it just gets so normalized because, like you said, like that's kind of the standard in the corporate ecosystems in America. And then also we like we celebrate like the boss babe and that kind of thing. And being a powerhouse, like that's a buzzword, you know, and it's like people who are in that energy are missing out on so many greater, bigger things. And I think on the other side of it is like a way of existing that is so much more peaceful and just easy in general, but it is counterintuitive to some degree to think that like slowing down and not having to like plan everything and have all the structure like that isn't really the like the obvious way.
Definitely. Yeah, I think it seems super counterintuitive for most people that you can slow down and have better results or improved results, essentially.
Yeah, and you
But
don't have to know the how. Like it's like if you need to know what it is that you're trying to achieve and you need to know you know the next step. But that's it. Like you don't have to know the next 20 steps to get what you want, you know? And that's where finding that balance between that masculine structure, the planning and uh, time blocking and all that stuff like um like it's needed for like the next step, but it's not needed for the whole path. And then if you can bring in that feminine and be in a place where you're able to just kind of get in that receiving mode where you're not just trying to figure it all out and do it all. And the receiving mode just looks like being present and being here and accepting that like, hey, I have this desire and I don't know how I'm going to get it, but I'm going to trust that my higher power is going to show me the next right thing. Pair those together and you are unstoppable.
definitely. Yeah, and I think I wanna give the brief disclaimer here too that, we're talking about the masculine feminine energy, and for anyone who hasn't heard of this term before, it has nothing to do with whatever gender you identify with. It's purely a way to or like kind of a philosophy behind different types of energy. So that's why, when Morgan explained it more as like the masculine energy is more of this structured way of being, where the feminine energy is more that flow intuition side. And there's nothing wrong with either, right? It's more the finding that balance of both. And you don't want to go too far to one extreme or the other, because then you get out of balance. And that's where the toxic side of each comes in. And yeah, another kind of metaphor I've heard for this too that's been really helpful for me to think about it is that it's as if the masculine energy is a bowl and the feminine energy is water. So it's like they can really help each other. The water being in a bowl, it gives it that structure of kind of the purpose and then the intention of where it can be and where it can thrive instead of going all over the place, right? It gives it, okay, we're gonna stay here. And then it's yeah, I don't know. I think it's just a simple but kind of beautiful metaphor of how they can come together.
Yes, and that's exactly, like, what I was meaning by that, like, the container, the masculine structure creates that container for this amorphous, flowing feminine energy, so I love that metaphor.
So, one other thing I wanted to touch on briefly, I know you've mentioned it a few times too, is money. And this comes up a lot with manifesting. I'm sure it's probably one of the most common topics in general that people want to manifest is money. And I know actually I did one of your programs, I think it was last year, about manifesting money, which was super helpful. And I'm happy to share more about my story, but I wanted to hear from you first. What is it that, where do you even start when it comes to manifesting money? When someone comes to work with you about that topic, what would be either your favorite place to start or a big takeaway for someone?
I'd love to start with teaching you how to start to look within and trace the root. So, the way that I lead the Magnetism and Money Masterclass, the program that you were in last year, the way that I like to structure it is first, I'm going to teach you how to look under the hood and start to make connections between the things that are recurring in your life, specifically with your relationship with money. Like I teach you how to start to pinpoint some of these patterns of these undesirable behaviors, thought processes, and so on, so that you can then, in the next phase, be able to start to apply some of the reprogramming tools to create new narratives, new stories, new subconscious beliefs to that align with you having wealth. Um, and then the third part is adding in the spirituality component to learning how to connect to your intuition and observe signs and synchronicities and all that to collaborate with the universe. So that's the path that I take, but um, I think also it just really does start with let's pinpoint like some of the money patterns that we don't like. So some people tend to be um like overspenders, like they like get money and blow through it, and it doesn't matter if they make 20 grand a year or 200 grand a year, like they just like money just comes and goes real fast. And then there's the people who are like obsessive with money and hoarders and will only get stuff if it's on sale and that kind of thing. So it's like, okay, we're seeing this pattern that we don't like. Um, or it's like I just keep settling, like, I'm not getting the amount of money I know I'm worth. That's another common thing. So it's like, okay, let's see what is at the root of this pattern, this behavior. Like where did I learn this? What modeling did I have, or was this from or who taught me this? Where did this belief come from? And then taking those measures to create a new belief, whether it's journaling or doing the guided meditations and that kind of thing. Um, but then once again, we go back to that transformation piece. You also are going to have to make action in the moment when it counts. So if you tend to be an overspender and you started to learn, okay, this is my pattern and I'm really working towards reprogramming what is at the root of this, then in the moment when you have, an Amazon cart full of crap that you, really don't need, taking that alternative approach to your overspending, that's where the real magnetism and the real subconscious reprogramming happens.
Definitely, yeah, and I think too, thinking about my journey through your program last year too, it really it really was that exact journey that I went through. At first, it was understanding those money mindsets that I had already rooted in me, but I had to kinda dig for a little bit to understand them a little bit better. But some of the common ones that I'm sure other people can relate to as well are money doesn't grow on trees. It's something most of us have heard our whole lives, but really, what does that actually mean, and why do we believe that, right? And kind of sitting with that. And then there's especially as an entrepreneur, there's the idea of like hours worked equals hours paid. So it's like I have to work harder and harder and harder to get more money. I can't, again, going back to kind of the masculine feminine energy, I can't do less and get more. That would be unheard of, right? And then for me, being still the first few years of my business and expanding my services, I was working through this worthiness of, am I worthy of these prices I want to be charging, and what the uh, kind of the market rates are for the services I'm offering. Where do I want to, how do I price my services, first of all? But like, here's what other people are charging. Do I charge that? Do I charge less because I'm kind of newer in the industry? But also now I have 6 years of experience. Is that new? There's so many
That's the
questions that come
logic
up.
part too,
Ex Yeah, exactly. You can even hear it. It's, like, so logical of, I'm gonna gather all of this evidence and do all this research. And, my favorite takeaway from the program I did with you is that when I did a guided meditation about this, is that I was just sitting with it. I forget what the prompts were even, but I was trying to sit with that idea because I was about to build a proposal for a big, service or a corporate service, and I wasn't sure on the pricing where I wanted to go with it. And again, my head naturally goes to logic, so I actually thought of it during a guided meditation of maybe a number will come to me, and what came to me was that it doesn't matter what the number is, you just have to feel good about it. And I was
Love
like,
it.
"Oh, that's good." I was just like, "Okay." So then it was more about what number am I excited about, what number am I confident in, and it's less about the logic, it's not what anyone else is doing, it's like, what number would make me feel really excited to show up? what number feels in alignment with my worth, my value. It's not, scraping the bottom of the barrel of, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing it only for this much money," and it's not stretching myself too far. It's like, what would just feel right? And then I was able to finish that proposal that day and just numbers just came to me. I'm like, "All right, I'm just gonna do that," and, like, not overthink it. And yeah, then I think that was the exact proposal that I landed as one of my biggest corporate clients that I got, like, shortly after that, and I got several other clients within a matter of a few months after doing that program, and it was just like, again, it's like how to simplify it, but then also be really intentional behind it, and it does take that deeper work, and it's uncomfortable, and it can be hard for people to even want to go there, but once you go there, I think it does open the path to more things to come in.
Yeah. I'm
Yay.
so
So
glad you had that. Thanks for sharing that. I just it means so much to hear when people actually manifest what they deserve, you know? Like what back to where we met. I mean, we've been on this journey together for 5 years and watched each other go through so much, but one thing that I can say for both of us is we have consistently been doing the work and getting the results. And, and you could look at it as like, oh, we've been doing all this work and it's 5 years in and we're not sitting on yachts. But I think what's true for both of us really is that who we've become in these last 5 years has made all the work worthwhile. Just the fact that like scarcity doesn't run the show anymore for both of us, like that's peace and you can't put a price tag on that, and then just know once again building that confidence, like now that you are capable of a lot, that you have been charging prices that when we first met like would have not even been a possibility, so I think deep down we both know like look at how far we've come in the last 5 years. It's gonna be unbelievable where we go in the next 5.
hell yeah. I can't wait to see it. Well, obviously, thank you for all of your support in my journey too. And over these last 5 years, it has been amazing to see how much we've grown in our confidence and having, like I said, that safe space to talk through all of this with, and the journey along the way, and all the ups and downs. And yeah, I think we are both in a more confident place in what we're doing and who we are and how we're showing up. And it shows in that we are attracting these bigger opportunities. We're doing more and more professionally, but then also I think personally too, we are in better places and figuring that side out too. And yeah, it's been exciting to see. And thank you so much for joining me today on our podcast. And do you have any upcoming resources or anything going on that you'd like to share with the audience today?
Yes, I just rolled out a audit, an alignment audit, and this is something that I've created so that you can actually get a quantifiable number to measure the level of alignment that you have with your heart, your soul, your purpose, and what you're doing with your life. And this is really helpful if you are in a place where you're not sure what to work on next, or if you're feeling stagnant, or if you're even spiraling and overwhelmed and like something's got to give. If you will take the time to go through and do this exercise, it maybe takes 20 minutes. Um, and it's going to really help you see like where in your life are things working and where are they not, and what do you need to start to delegate, detox, delete that isn't working so that you can make space for some of those other aspects of your life that are. Because when you are lit up, when you are energized, when you are aligned, that's what's going to help you stay magnetic. That's going to help you manifest more opportunities and solutions. And it's going to also help you connect to your higher power and your purpose and all those good things too. So, I'm really excited about this tool. And if you go to morganmanifest.com/free, you can download your own copy And also you have an opportunity to schedule a little intro call with me there as well if you'd like to get to know me or learn more about my programs. So yeah, thanks for asking, Brittany.
Love it. That sounds like a great tool. I may also download it because that sounds amazing. And anywhere else you recommend people can get in touch with you or follow along your journey?
Yes, if you can find me Morgan Manifest on Facebook or Instagram. My handle is morgan.manifest. So I'm easy to find and on YouTube as well.
But all right, well, check out Morgan on the different social media platforms if you want to learn more. And I will share all those links in our show notes today so it's even easier to get connected. And thank you again for joining us today, Morgan. And thank you, as always, to our listeners for joining in today. And what is one thing from what you learned today that you want to take action on? And if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a quick review or like on whatever platform you're listening on. It really helps new people find the podcast and in turn find the support that they're looking for too. And that's it for today. We'll see you in the next episode.